Afternoon, gentlemen. Your favorite commissioner coming at you here, pre-recorded one more time for a recap. This week we are recapping week 13 of the League 10, and one of my more favorite ones to do, just because this is one of the ones that we get to evaluate all the different scenarios of how people get in playoffs, how people get eliminated from playoffs, the people who are already in, the people who are already out, etc., etc. So, yeah. So this is going to be a fun one to go through, and let's dive right into it. So, first, we have the matchup between Nick and Corey. And as you all know, Corey is the first one to be eliminated from playoffs this year. So, Corey didn't have much to play for, but he could have still played spoiler if he wanted to, and apparently he didn't. He lost once again, so he's now at 10 losses on the year. Lost 113 to 119. So, I mean, it's not like it was a blow up by any means. But, yeah, Corey does what Corey does, which is lose. Matchup, and sorry, before we dive into that, I should also just quick run through the magic numbers of these two. I mean, not that Corey's magic number really matters, but he has a magic, hold on, let me get this. I just said here, he has a magic number of 5, with one game left. It doesn't matter. Nick, on the other hand, he is 7-6 and in 5th place. He has a magic number of 1. So, if you have a magic number of 1, you control your own destiny. Meaning, if you win this week, you're in playoffs. Nick, he had Deontay Johnson, 31 points. Rob Gronkowski, 22 points. And that was it. He had Tyrod Taylor, his quarterback, get him 2 points, which, believe it or not, is not the fewest points scored by a starting quarterback this week. Corey, on the other hand, he had 20 points out of Tyler Lockett, and that was it. They're not even going to bother going through the benches. So, yeah. So, like I said, Nick is in 5th place. He controls his own destiny going into this week. And next matchup we have between Mitch and Nick. And for this matchup, first of all, Mitch, I believe. Hold on, let me confirm this before I say something out of line. Mitch. Oh, okay, so never mind. Good thing I checked, because that would have been wrong. Mitch had the second most points this week, 148 to 116, handing Nate his 5th loss. Nate is 8-5 in first place and has officially clinched a playoff spot. Mitch is 8-5 and in 2nd place and has also officially clinched a playoff spot. So those two boys are in. So they have nothing to worry about. Well, I shouldn't say nothing to worry about. It is. I mean, it's not impossible, but I guess. Well, sorry, I'm thinking through this as I'm talking, so it probably wasn't as prepared as I should have been. They're playing for a bye next week. And if you're somebody like Nate, who as lucky as he can be, he is probably wanting that bye week, because then he only has to play 2 weeks in playoffs instead of 3. I think we all know that Nate would not fare well if he had to play 3 weeks. Anyways, matchup here. Let's get through it quick. Kyler Murray came back in a big way for Nate. 31 points, awfully lucky there. 22 points for Leonard Fournette, and yeah, that was it. He had some players. He had literally had 3 players get him 1 or 2 points. One of them being Adam Thielen, who is out for the foreseeable future, I believe. I believe he's out for the foreseeable future. Mitch, on the other hand, had Tom Brady get him 30 points. He had Antonio Gibson get him 22 points. He had Dallas Goedert get him 29 points, and he had Sony Michel, Sony Walkman get him 22 points. I mean, Mitch had a pretty good showing out of a lot of guys this week, especially that Goddard. He had 2 I think he had 2 touchdowns in like the first quarter or something like that. So I mean, whatever, awesome. But yeah, so both of those boys are playing for a bye week. So even though they have playoffs clinched, if they win this upcoming week, they will officially clinch a bye in week 15. So those guys are in playoffs but still have something to play for. Next matchup we have between Brandon and Mike. And Brandon and Mike, I mean, talk about Two teams that have completely just, flipped the script, if you want to say. Mike, I think he was on a winning streak, but I don't think he is anymore. No, he must have lost last week. Um, but anyways, Mike won 158 to 123. Mike had the highest score of the week, and both of those teams are 7-6. Mike is in fourth place, magic number of 1. Brandon is in sixth place, magic number of 1. So Brandon the first and second place team are 8-5. Third through sixth are 7-6, and seventh through ninth are 6-7. So Brandon, if he loses next week, pretty solid chance that he does not make playoffs. So not only does he need to win to control his own destiny to get himself in, if he loses, there's a high probability that he does not make playoffs. And there was a long stretch of time where he was in the top rankings, or top standings anyways. But now his lack of point scoring is finally starting to catch up to him, I believe. Mike, let's see. He had Keenan Allen, 22 points, who is now on the COVID list. So we'll see how that goes for Mr. Allen there. He had 27 points out of Cooper Kupp, 21 points out of Alexander Madison. George Kittle just completely went off last week for 40 points. I mean, that's got to be I gotta believe that's the most points scored this week. Maybe, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, when you have your tight end score 40 points, pretty hard not to win. Brandon, on the other hand, he had, oh wow, I mean, it worked out, but Taysom Hill, Brandon had as a quarterback. I mean, I shouldn't say it's a huge gamble, but anyways, yeah, Taysom Hill, 25 points for Brandon, 30 points for Chris Godwin, Josh Jacobs, 24 points, and yeah, that's it. So, like I said, both those boys control their own destiny. If they win next week, they are in. And the next matchup we have between Ben and Matt. And this one was interesting because I believe going into it was the fourth quarter, but I don't know exactly where it was. But I think Matt was winning by I don't know, decimal points. It was 136 to 136. And all Ben needed was Diggs to just catch one more ball, or even just get him a half a point. And I honestly didn't. No, I did watch the end of the game, and I forgot to check on that matchup. That's what it was. And then I saw that Diggs must have caught one last ball or something like that, and just put him over the edge to beat Matt. So Ben's big scoring, big win ways have continued here. Ben gets a win with 140 points at Matt's 137. Matchup wise, Ben had Justin Herbert for 27 points. He had Jonathan Taylor, scored 24 points. And he had 20 points out of his defense, as did Matt. Both teams had 20 points out of their defense. So good, but when both your defense scores 20 points, it's kind of a moot point. Matt, on the other hand, like I said, 20 points out of his defense, 20 points out of Kirk Cousins, made the right choice in not starting Mahomes. He had 36 points out of Justin Jefferson, and that's it. Matt, 7-6 and in third place. Magic number of 1, controls his own destiny. Ben, 6-7 and in seventh place, first team out of playoffs. So he needs to win next week and needs to have one of those guys in the 3rd to 6th place rankings to lose. So basically, actually, hold on. Let's get through this one more matchup, and then I'll go through the what needs to happen, which really only pertains to 3 of us, really. Matchup of the week goes to myself and Perk, and I snapped off my 4th win in a row. So making a little surge here at the end, which, just making up lost time or whatever you want to call it. Should have been at 6 wins a long time ago. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. 121 to 111. Perk gets the weekly low score. So as I like to say, and I mean honestly, when I score 120 points, I kind of have to say this about myself. I didn't win, I just didn't lose. But Perk put up a 111, which, I mean, all things considered, I feel like, what was it, last week? Somebody won with 95. So, I mean, 111 isn't the worst weekly little score, but it's Perk, so who cares? Um, and speaking of how the mighty have fallen, Perk, ninth place. I didn't go back and look, but I mean, it was only a handful of weeks ago. He was, I wouldn't say he had a playoff spot locked up, but I mean, I think there's a lot of us that would have said that we're pretty confident Perk would make playoffs. He is now one spot better than Corey. So, Perk, ouch, that sucks. Me, on the other hand, I'm one spot above him. We're both 6 and 7 in. I'm in 8th place. Perk is in 9th place. Sorry. Our matchup, I had Elijah Moore give me 21 points. I had, crap, I can't think. Hold on. Javonte Williams, sorry. We have two Jay Williams. I can't remember which. I have Javonte Williams. He has Jamal Williams. Javonte Williams, I had give me 30 points. And yeah, that was all I really had. Perk, on the other hand, had Matt Stafford 24 points, David Montgomery 28 points, and his first player all year that he spent money on, he spent $58 on, and that player got him 9 points. So pretty standard Perk team management there. So all that having been said, like I said, we can go through all the things that need to happen, but I mean, really what it comes down to is Corey's out. We all know that. Nate and Mitch are in. There's 4 of you that are Matt, Mike, Nick, and Brandon that are 7 and 6. If any of you guys win, the 4 of you, you clinch a playoff spot. If you lose, there is a, how do I want to say this? So let's look. If one of those 4 guys loses, Matt, Mike, Nick, or Brandon, if say Brandon loses, Perk and Ben play each other. So one of those 2 guys, Ben's in 7th, Perk's in 9th. One of those 2 guys is going to have a win. So one of those guys is going to be 7 and 7. Brandon has the fewest points out of anybody other than Corey. So if Brandon loses, odds are he will miss playoffs. That's what I was trying to say before, because of his few points, unless he puts up a monster week. I mean, he's only behind Perk by 16, so I guess if Perk wins and Brandon loses, but Perk scores 16 or 17 points less than Brandon, I mean, you guys know what I'm getting at here. If Ben wins, Ben automatically makes playoffs because he has more points than anybody. He has 70 more points than the next closest player, which is Matt at 1755. Ben has 1821, so whatever that, maybe not quite 70. I played Nick, so if Nick and I have 25 points less than Nick, so if I win, I mean, there's not a great chance, but not a terrible chance that Nick misses playoffs. So there's a lot of things that could happen. Corey plays Mike. Odds are Mike will win that one. And then Nate plays Brandon. Matt plays Mitch. So, I mean, we have a lot of matchups. Like I said, the 3 biggest matchups for teams to leapfrog into playoffs or to fall out of playoffs, the matchups you're really going to want to watch are mine and Nick's and Ben and Perk's. Just because we're the 3 teams that can leap up into playoffs. Another big one, Brandon versus Nate. Brandon really needs to win that one. Mike and Matt, I would say, are pretty safe. I mean, their points are both in the 1700s. I wouldn't be worried about them if I was them.